I'd like to welcome you out to this week's report. Today is Thursday, August 29th. We are, believe it or not, at the end of summer here, Labor Day weekend. Nice 3-day weekend for most, I hope. I'm taking a 4-day weekend starting tomorrow. But good news is we have some decent weather in most areas. They're not really calling for a lot of wind, maybe the northern Channel Islands. Might be a little breezy out the Tanner and Cortez banks, but not too breezy for sport boats. And hopefully, unlike last weekend, the forecast is correct. That was a pretty big bummer last week. You know, everybody's expecting it to be super windy, and it ends up being pretty decent in most areas. I actually didn't even fish because I thought the weather was going to be horrible, and it wasn't. So shame on me for paying attention to the weather report. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on this week again, and it's going to be a busy weekend on the water. Labor Day weekend always is. So just if you're fishing in an area that's crowded, be prepared for the gangbangs. And if you're gangbang averse, I recommend doing something else. Like me, I'd probably go fish bass somewhere quietly. Start up at the Channel Islands as usual. Fishing's okay up there, nothing great. Mostly bass, rockfish, stuff like that. I'm getting a few yellows. I know the Gray Light had some yellows earlier this week on one of their trips. But mostly just bass and rockfish fishing. Nice stable water up there this time of year, so you know it's fishing's probably pretty good for private boaters going out there fishing the kelp or the rocky shorelines of Santa Cruz Island for bass. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some marlin cut up there this weekend as well. It's getting to be about that time, and with all the bluefin and stuff sliding up that way as well, we have a shot that happening. But I'll talk about that stuff a little bit later on. I'm going to head down San Clemente Island. Not getting a ton of coverage. Still some yellowtail biting there. Still some squid to be caught. Guys are getting halibut, sea bass, stuff like that as well. 90% of the boats are fishing somewhere else, so looks decent weather-wise for private boaters to head over that way. I know I talked to Oliver Nye. He's got a trip. He's gonna, I think tomorrow or Saturday, he's gonna head over there. So hopefully, I have a report from him next week. I may make the crossing at some point this weekend. I'm not sure. Gonna have to look at the closures. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of naval activity being it's Labor Day weekend, so it might be a good day to make the run. Same deal at Cat. The 3 Bs and some yellows, you know, bass, barracuda, bonita. Some bigger yellowtail being caught. I know one of the boats at Dana Point got a nice one fishing on the backside east end there earlier this week. That's something I might do tomorrow. Matt has to work until I think 11 or 11:30 tonight, so he doesn't want to get up early. So he's going to come by around 9, take a look at the weather. If it looks good, I might run to Catfish, the backside west end. If not, I'll probably just go fish PV. But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, like I said, there hasn't been a ton of coverage. I know, you know, doesn't sound too exciting so far here, but most of the stuff's offshore right now. North Coast, coastal stuff, I'm sure PV's biting. I know that Santa Monica Bay is biting. My friend Joy Shimizu fished on the Betty G the other day, got a nice calico. And they caught a bunch on that trip. You know, the guys fishing calicos and sand bass down in front of Long Beach are doing real well too. The Victory's been getting a lot of calicos, some nice sand bass like this one Captain Phil caught. And there's still some sea bass around on the beach as well. I think the Some Fun at Dana Point was fishing coastal. They got a 45-pounder the other day. So, yeah, if you're looking to get away from the crowds this weekend, it might be a good opportunity to go fish some bass somewhere. Hopefully it's not too crowded in there. And, you know, with the sea bass around, always you got an issue with divers. And I've been meaning to talk about this. I hadn't thought about it until just now, is that there are a lot of shore-based divers around nowadays. And a lot of them don't have floats or flags or anything to indicate to you that there's a diver in the kelp. So just be careful, and especially hard to see on overcast days. They normally have those shiny reflective goggles they wear that are orange or different colors like that. And on a sunny day, you can see those things pretty easily. But a lot of times, when it's overcast, you might think you're seeing a harbor seal popping up the kelp. So half the time that's a diver. And despite the fact they show no indication they're there, they get mad when you run up to the kelp not knowing they're there, which I think is kind of stupid. So if you're a free diver, try bringing a little flag or some indication that you're in the water, other than shaking your fist at me when I come a little too close. But yeah, and if you're on your dive boat and you're 900 yards away from where your dive flag is, just try not to get upset with private boaters who are just driving around fishing bass, because we don't know you're that far from your boat, and you really shouldn't be anyway. Yeah. So that's apparently I just have a rant to make there, but yeah. So down on the south coast, good fishing down there for their half-day boats. Private boaters do well, probably I would guess as well. I saw some reports from the Daily Double. They've been getting yellows, sea bass, calicos, a little bit of everything. I think there's some squid down there as well, and maybe those fish are associated with that. I don't know for sure. I really don't follow that area, the day-to-day ins and outs of it all that closely. But as I always say, you know, especially as we get into this time of year where there's less coverage, can't go wrong with having a Fish Dope membership to help you get the details. I have not looked at Fish Dope this week, but if there's squid down there, we'll probably talk about it on the site there. So just something to keep in mind, help you out, especially, you know, the next 2 months, there's going to be a lot of good fishing happening and a lot less boats, so it's going to be hard to kind of find your way around otherwise. Coronado Islands is probably fishing as cool as I've ever seen it fish. It's been a very long time anyway. They're catching, you know, yellows, sea bass, bluefin tuna, striped marlin. They're even seeing some yellowfin tuna, bass, and barracuda. I mean, that's on a 3/4 trip. You can see all that. There's been some good scores. San Diego's been down there just killing them lately. A lot of the 4-pack boats have as well. But, you know, an example is the other day the Liberty had 28 yellows, 5 bluefin, 16 calico bass, 10 barracuda, and a sea bass. So if that's not the coolest mixed bag fishing you could find, I don't know what is. And 90% of those fish are fly line fish. Yellows you maybe get on a surface iron, but a fly line bait on an appropriately sized hook, and, you know, maybe 20 or 30 pound test, you know, maybe heavier 50-pound spectra to 25 or 30-pound fluorocarbon would be a pretty good bet. I know that the Seasons was down there the other day, and they caught bluefin at the island, and they said that saw a lot of breezers and shiners and stuff like that. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of boats down there, and they're really piling on top of each other from some of the reports I've heard. So you're gonna want to do your best to keep your distance. I know it's frustrating when you can't find anything, but, you know, you don't want to be the 8th or 9th boat into the gangbang, because you're probably just going to watch other guys catch fish. So let's talk offshore fishing. With the weather that was supposed to happen not happening, a lot of boats went out looking over the weekend. And on Saturday and Sunday, a lot of boats had trouble finding fish, those bluefin that had been out by San Nick and above Clemente. As it turned out, overnight, those things or other fish that we did not know about slid up the coast, or slid into the coast, and there was foamers of, you know, 100 to 200 pound plus bluefin as close as 2 miles off Palos Verdes. My friend Jonathan was out with his wife, and they went over a bunch on their light spinning gear and cast lures, and he said they were just 2 miles off Trump National all the way up to Rocky Point. The guys with the flying fish obviously did better. And I actually have some video of a few foamers from Sunday that close to the beach. Is pretty awesome. So let's enjoy the sounds of foaming.
Yeah.
Come on!
As exciting as those foamers are, boy, it's a lot of work when you hook into one of those fish, especially that grade. My friend Reggie did just that. He got 2, and both kite fish, both a lot of work. And I got some video of him here getting punished.
I got Andrew with me. He's gonna fly in 3 hours. Back called into that on the way out and slid in, got a fish right when we got there, and then the whole damn posse.
Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. That type of work is not for me, but you know, he was definitely rewarded with a couple of nice fish, and pretty amazing to see that type of action this close to home. So those fish kind of bugged out the next day, and kind of slid up the line and back outside a bit. I'll say, you know, in the years that I've been fishing, which have been, I don't know, or paying attention to fishing, what, 45 years? Maybe 40-something years. Bluefin tuna are the most unpredictable fish that have ever been in Southern California waters, as far as I'm concerned. You know, you never know where those things are going to pop up. One minute they're 90 miles offshore, the next they're swimming into the harbor mouth, and they go from cold water to warm water, clean water to dirty water. I mean, we've caught them and the water was so dirty you couldn't even see the fish at gaff. It's just really cool to have this fishery happening around here. I know I rarely fish for them, but it's fun to follow, kind of like baseball. I don't want to watch it, but following the stats is pretty cool, I guess. So yeah, before I get into the rest of the bluefin stuff, you know, there's a lot of marlin being caught around Cat right now, and they had the Balboa Angling Club ladies tournament, which I was supposed to fish last weekend. We sat out, but the boats did good. A lot of people caught fish, and the days leading up to the tournament were better, but it's really good marlin fishing around Catalina right now, which is nice because the last few years most of that stuff's been up off Santa Barbara Island or Santa Cruz Island this time of year. Nice to have something a little closer at home. I might actually go marlin fishing one day this weekend. What I won't be doing is doing stuff like my friend Bob Hoos of Costa Sunglasses. He's part of the Avalon Tuna Club, and they have this linen line tournament where they have to use linen line and pre-1940s tackle to fish for marlin. And they get you get buttons and different things for the club for doing that. And they had a little tournament over the weekend, and his friend Jack Rainwater, who was fishing with him, hooked a fish on a 9-thread linen line, which it's pretty light, and a pre-1940s Pfluger reel with an old bamboo rod, and he caught a marlin in only 4.5 hours. So yeah, if you want to pull on a marlin for 4.5 hours, get your vintage tackle. But there's a lot more fun on modern tackle for sure. But yeah, a lot of guys catch them. Talked to my friend Aaron Graham, who runs the Native Sun. He caught one the other day, and while a lot of guys release marlin, they're pretty good eating, and we've kept a few over the years as well. So good job to those guys. I'm sure a lot of the passengers went home happy with some fish. And yeah, so if you're going tuna fishing and you don't have a marlin trawler, I'd at least catch a couple mackerel before you head out. Put one on a circle hook, some 100-pound leader to maybe 30-pound test. And a lot of times you'll see marlin sleeping on the surface. You can cast on them, or if it's a little breezy in the afternoon, they'll be tailing. The one piece of advice I'll give you, I'm not going to talk a lot about marlin fishing because I know most of you don't do it, but if you do see a marlin or a swordfish or any other billfish on the surface, you want to cast a bait to it, cast it in front of where the pointy end of the fish is. A lot of guys get nervous, they cast behind the fish, and all it does is startle the fish. And that fish is not going to swing back around and eat that bait. So when they're on the surface like that, be it swordfish or marlin, if they're sleeping, they're not going to be, you don't have to race and rush and do stuff. Very calmly, get your bait ready, get close enough to cast on it, cast the bait to the pointy end of the fish, hopefully a few feet in front of it, and don't let your bait squirt off a bunch of line because those fish will lose track of it. So just kind of keep a little pressure on that bait so it doesn't run off 100 yards if that fish is not moving or doesn't wake up quickly. So yeah, the bluefin. There's fish spread up almost to Santa Cruz Island now. Gray light went out yesterday. They caught it. They went 2 for 3. I talked to Oliver Nye. He's been going out. He's running a 32-foot cobia center console. Yeah, and he's running trips, and that's a much bigger boat than his bay boat was. Much better suited to these types of trips. But he said he ran almost to Santa Cruz Island the other day to catch fish, and there's fish scattered from the west end of Cat all the way up there, and from the beach all the way out to Clemente Escarpment. So you got to kind of drive around and look. Again, it helps to have like a fish dope. They send up spotter planes during the week for those types of things. But yeah, if you want to go with Oliver, he's got some openings, and you can contact him at Oliver, Oliver at bigbassstreams.com through email there, and or hook him up on Instagram or whatever. Real fishy guy, and catches everything from freshwater bass, trophy bass, saltwater bass, tuna, everything else. Also, those bigger bluefin are biting at night again for the sport boats. Not consistently, but the Polaris Supreme had 9 fish the other night from 100 to about 200 pounds, which is a good sign. That being said, most of the sport boats and long-range trips are out of Tanner Banks and Cortez still. Those yellows are still biting, bluefin are still biting. There's been some bigger bluefin in the mix, which is really playing hell with the guys fly lining 30 pound. They're not giant fish, but you know, a 60 pound, 70 pound bluefin will, on a sport boat with a fly line rig and 30 pound line, you're going to be, the hook to landing ratio is not going to be all that great. But yeah, it's still a parking lot out there, and the weather should be good, so I'm imagining a lot of boats will be out there again this weekend. So they're catching, you know, most of the tuna and yellows being caught on fly line baits. They're also catching yellowtail on surface iron, and they're catching bluefin on the smaller Colt sniper type jigs and things like that. Yeah, so finally, I'm going to call it the South Coast, below Catalina into Mexican waters. There's still some kelps that have yellows and a few dorado on them. There's still some smaller yellowfin around on dolphin. I haven't heard about a lot being caught. I hear about quite a few being seen. So hopefully that improves here. A lot of times, you know, you just have to be on the right fish at the right time. And as I talked about a few weeks ago or a month ago or so when we caught those yellowfin, we found those yellowfin on dolphin, and the dolphin looked right. There were birds on them. They were acting right. They slapped their tail on the water a lot. It's a good indicator that they're on tuna. I think they don't like the tuna under them. They're trying to scare them away. So if you see that and you're by yourself, not if there's other boats around, you gotta be courteous to them. But if you see that and you're by yourself, what I'll do is I'll just run up ahead of where the dolphin are going, and I'll shut my boat down directly in their path, and as the leading edge of those dolphins go onto the boat, if there's tuna there, you're going to see them on the meter. So you can babysit those things for a while, but something's going to have to change for those tuna to start biting, and that could be a tide slacking off, high or low, or more regularly it's the sun coming out and those fish getting off those dolphins and feeding on their own. So yeah, if you find some dolphin that have tuna on them and nothing is going to be changing in the next 2 hours, let's say you're halfway between tides and it's going to be overcast all day or the sun is already out, there's not going to be a light switch that's going to make those feed suddenly. So you're almost better off looking for something else. But yeah, there's still catching some bluefin down in Mexican waters, down in Ensenada, stuff like that, stuff scattered around. I think the season is far from being over. I would say September over the years has been one of my favorite months to fish, and if we have continued good weather, it should go all the way in October. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it does, and I hope you guys all have a great Labor Day weekend, and good luck if you fish.